Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi with Catholic Spotlight. Joining me again today is Father Edmund Vargas of St. Michael Catholic Community in Calgary. Thanks again, Father, for coming on.
Okay, hi everyone there. Okay.
Let's talk about an interesting phrase I've always I found interesting, and I think it is attributed to St. John of the Cross way back when.
hmm
He called it the dark night of the soul.
Yeah,
What does that mean?
the dark night of the soul. That's sometimes referred to as, the difficult part of our relationship with our loved one, with God, because even Saint Teresa of Calcutta referred to it as something happening to her own experience, that when there were times when she couldn't even feel God's presence in her prayers and in her meditation. But it is part of what they call dryness. There is like a desert that we go through every now and then in our lives. So it is important to be aware of that as something necessary sometimes to make us live fuller in a way, so we can, you know, the absence of God sometimes creates that kind of longing, a deeper appreciation of His presence.
Mm,
You know, it's like when we lose somebody, we appreciate the importance of somebody when we lose it, or even some things that we lose. But the thing is, the dryness and the emptiness of our lives can actually, shall we say, lead to something very new, very exciting in our lives. So, I mean, The Dark Night of the Soul is actually a title of a book. And it's important that we have to recognize that not everything is always, like sunny.
mm,
We have our own rainy days, and it's important to have that in the equation,
mhm.
because even with our Christian life, even Christmas, the solemnity of something is usually preceded by something that is painful or even horrible. But out of the, horror, shall we say, out of the darkness
Mhm. Yeah.
comes about a new beginning. So that's how things happen, even in the world of creation. There
Kind of
is,
like it's like Easter, right?
yeah,
You can't have the resurrection unless you go through the
yeah, and you
trial.
go through the uh, Lenten sacrifice and routine of doing intense prayer and charity, as well as fasting and abstinence, all that stuff. So it's important that we have that kind of recognition. It's no it we say it in athletics, no gain without the pain. I mean, it's the actually sometimes the shadows of our human experiences give beauty and splendor to our experiences that are joyful. I mean, celebration of God's presence in our lives become more, shall we say, appreciated when we have just gone through some dark experiences ourselves.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a process every time. Yeah.
Hmm. Do you think you mentioned Mother Teresa, and do you think that most people, if not all people, go through a dark night of a soul at some point in their lives, no matter what?
Most saints I have read about, they all go through that. You
Ah,
know, I mean, if saints go through that, we as ordinary human beings, who are trying to be saints, we have to expect to go through it, but sometimes we don't really expect it. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes we think that everything should be sunny every time, and there is no rain. But the rain makes the sunny days better with more greenery, because
Yeah.
it's the rain that the pains and the sufferings that we endure that makes us better as people, uh, trying to love in
Yeah.
a deeper way. So
Yeah.
the deeper the pain, the
If
closer we become to our God.
yeah,
Mhm.
if
Or mhm.
I'm just wondering uh, if you're a person going through this, right? What advice would you give them? To I was going to say like snap out of it. No,
I
but
I
what advice?
usually
Yeah.
I used to have a favorite quote, but many times I mean, in the past I have quoted it very well, that we are like tea bags. We we realize our strength when we get into hot water, and the longer we stay in hot water, the stronger we get. I
Ah,
mean, that's kind of an analogy, because we expect to be in kind of straits or dire straits or difficulties or challenge. Because what would life be without those challenges and difficulties? Without the crosses and the ups and downs, so to speak.
yeah.
You know, and I think I don't know. I have to quote some American president who said, "If you haven't been to the lowest valley, you won't be able to appreciate how wonderful it is to be on the top of the mountain." You know, I
Hmm.
mean, I don't know who said that, but somebody who resigned, I think, from the presidency.
Yeah.
But the point I'm making here is this realization of the low moments of our lives can make us appreciate how it is to be on the mountaintop.
Yeah.
So even these spiritual, fathers and saints who have gone into asceticism, they realize that it's part of the darkness of the soul, so
Mm.
that the soul can be enlightened and reborn. It's
Yeah.
a process of getting reborn every time. The
Mm.
dying part. You know, because when we die, we resurrect, and this is the process that we go through. It can be difficult, but it is something that we have to kind of, in a way, see from the perspective of Christ's resurrection, because Christ has shown us
Yeah.
how it turns out to be, something that can be a glorious cross. Some crosses are hard to bear, but
Mm.
many times we can embrace those crosses, and once we embrace it in the love of God, I mean, those crosses become glorious crosses.
Yeah.
Crosses that we can embrace and that can make us grow in holiness and closeness to our God.
Now, not to get personal, but for yourself, like personally, as a priest, and you've been a priest for a very long time. Have you ever experienced that?
Oh yeah, I mean, of course, it's important that we rise from our falls. They say that staying on the ground is the worst thing that can happen to us. It's not falling, but staying on the ground. And of course, that is why we have periodic retreats, and
Mm.
and we have gatherings with priests wherein we can go and confess to one another in the spirit of the need for growth and maturity in the priesthood. I mean, the maintenance part of the priesthood can be a difficult part of it. I mean, to generate vocations is not uh, it can be exciting, but the thing is the grind, the daily grind, the daily struggle. So these are, sometimes people don't realize how lonely priests can be after the last mass on a Sunday.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So these are, crosses that we have to bear, but it's worth embracing the cross. I think the spirit of embracing the cross makes it more spiritual. Yeah. So the
Yeah.
acceptance of pain and suffering as part of the equation. The shadows of our dark experiences are kind of a part of the landscape of our Christian life.
Yeah. Um, if a person is going through this kind of stage in their life, does it become even more important in going through it?
Yeah.
Does things like prayer and going to mass and adoration become even more important to get
Yeah.
people through that time?
Yeah. I think the thing is, it's all about, it's between the threshold of hope and despair. Sometimes when we go through something that is really difficult, the devil, of course, is working to make us lose hope
Hmm.
so that we kind of weaken in our system our appreciation of God's goodness and His reliability in the situation of difficulty and challenge. So I think it is important for us to open our minds and our hearts to our God when we go through it. I mean, this is not according to our plan, so to speak, but the thing is, maybe it's better to find out what God is really wanting to us to do. Who knows? There is even with the losses in our lives, sometimes
Mm.
it can be something for the better. It can be blessings in disguise. You know, I mean, our pains and our sufferings, the darkness of the soul, can be in a way a blessing in disguise. You know, it turns out that these painful experiences can become the source of our strength.
Mm.
Yeah. So,
Interesting. Yeah. Well, thanks so much, Father, for joining
mhm.
us again today.
Yeah, very interesting, really. So, anyway, yeah, I have a favorite quote from, I think, Edgar Allan Poe:
Oh,
"The darker the night, the brighter the stars."
perfect. Beautiful. Good way to end this topic.
Hey, very
Thanks,
good,
Father.
Maria. Bye.
Okay, that was Father Edmund Vargas of St. Michael Catholic Community in Calgary. I'm Mario Toneguzzi. Thanks for joining us today.